Hey everybody, before we begin the show, I wanted to give a shout out to our friends at Powerpool. Powerpool is a mining pool and is one of the most profitable for miners. So if you have one miner at home or a fleet of miners at scale, point your workers to Powerpool to enjoy the best payouts. Powerpool supports a number of algorithms, SHA-256 for Bitcoin, X11 for Dash, and others. And of course, we're focused and we care about the most, S-CRYPT for Litecoin, DOGECOIN, and now BELLSCOIN, merge mining. Pointing your workers to Powerpool is easy with its simple user interface, and the platform also has all the reporting available that your operation needs. Typically, Powerpool extends a low 1% pool fee. However, if you register with the 84 million link in the show notes, you will lock in a sub 1% pool fee, which is excellent. So start mining with the most profitable pool in 2024 and register for Powerpool with the link in the show notes. Cheers, happy mining. Hello and welcome to the 84 Million Podcast. Today's episode number 28. And we have Ruben with us. Ruben, what do we say about Ruben? Ruben Gomez is a mathematician interested in cryptocurrencies, systems optimization, and solving inefficiencies. He's the founder of Powerpool, a mining pool that seeks to be the most profitable in existence. While Ruben does not have a professional X account, or I should say personal X account, he does have one for Powerpool, so you can find him on X at Powerpool Mining. Ruben, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you. So we've talked about getting you on, and we're now here, and I wanted to go over mining and pools and have hopefully a show that'll help others maybe get into the space when it might seem impossible in 2024.
Great, yeah.
So this is not sponsored, by the way. I do. You're the only one I've run an ad for before the podcast. And there will be one on this as it's still 2024, although we might have to change that going into next year. But anyway, good to have you. Just briefly, before we dive into it, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I really like the introduction you made. It covers pretty much everything. I'm great here in Spain, so it's my noon, your morning. So it's great that we're able to sync schedules and time zones. So it's great. It's great being here.
I do agree, and it's great to have you here. I know we were in the same room, but we didn't actually interact very much there, unfortunately. But hopefully, the next summit we can do that. So we'll go right into it here. We'll talk about Litecoin mining. Let's see. Most of us are aware on the show about mining, proof of work. At least nominally, we know what it is. We know kind of how to shape our language around it. But, I don't think we've explored it one other time with Nathan Poole of Mini Mines, but we haven't had a whole lot of emphasis on mining on the show. So seeing that you're with Powerpool, you're running a pool, I want to talk about that today. So let's just start with the rudimentary, super basics, Litecoin mining. What is it? How does it work? And, why is it important for the monetary policy of Litecoin?
All right. Well, Litecoin mining is a lot like Bitcoin mining, where you have, it used to be a lot like Bitcoin mining, where you had just miners sitting in your garage or a computer if it was the very first days of mining. And you set it to run a certain computing, and it produces Litecoin in exchange, or in the case of Bitcoin, it produces Bitcoin in exchange. And that was all fine and happy for the first years of its existence, since there was maybe a few 100,000 or a few thousand people that were trying to mine, and essentially would receive rewards from the mining itself. Then difficulty went up as more people started to join. It's not that it was more difficult to start mining, it was more difficult to actually have revenue from mining, because you have a fixed cost, which is your electricity, which happens every hour that you're mining, and then you have your variable profits, which are the blocks you find. So people started joining forces together. That's where pools, where pool operators came into existence, and they started joining forces between different players in the industry to distribute rewards according to how much they contributed. Pooling at the start was very rudimentary. Then new protocols came into existence so that it was a lot more simplified for the user experience. So then we switched the paradigm from solo or traditional mining, which was the first early days, to pooled mining, which is what we have right now. If you're not in a pool, unless you're say, Bitmain with enough machines to run the whole network by yourself, then you're likely inside of a pool, pulling forces together with other miners to get a share of your rewards. And that was when Bitcoin and Litecoin were very similar. That was the very start. Then Dogecoin came into the picture when they switched to AuxPOW, which is auxiliary proof of work, which is when you have Litecoin being your main coin, and then Dogecoin blocks being kind of like attached to those Litecoin blocks. So by mining one cryptocurrency, you would also make the other one at the same time. So you're, instead of just joining forces for the mining, which you are pooling resources together, now you're pooling computing power between different coins in a sort of way. So it's kind of pooling 2.0. And now Dogecoin, as well as many other coins, use the same system where you chain them together. So instead of having just one Litecoin chain, you have Litecoin and then all the auxiliary chains, which are verified by Litecoin as well. So that's when merge mining became super popular. Dogecoin used to be a super small fraction of revenue for Litecoin miners. And then we made the switch. Now Litecoin is a percentages of their total revenue instead of compared to Dogecoin, BELLSCOIN, LOKOTECH, Pepe, and all the others. So now the race is to make a pool that has the most compatible merge mined coins, as well as the most compatible mining strategy for all miners, so that they make most. And that's where pools like Powerpool that specialize are. That's their sweet spot, where you're not only mining all the merge mining coins possible, you're also mining different primary coins. So instead of just mining Litecoin as your base, you also mine Digibyte in certain situations, or other smaller coins in different moments in time. And then you also have additional strategies which you can implement top of that, which makes it a bit more profitable. So that's what mining is all about. Essentially, what users see is their machine plugged in with a URL and they receive coins, but a lot of things happen under the hood to be able to receive those coins and be a significant percentage more than just mining one coin individually.
Yeah. And you already kind of discussed the difference between pooling it and solo mining. But before we move on kind of with that, mining is basically we're digging the commodity out of the ground, right? For Litecoin, there will never be more than 84 million Litecoin, and miners are the ones that release the new Litecoin into the ecosystem, right? So we have an inflationary curve until we don't at all, right? And of course, the model with Litecoin is the block halving rewards, which is or the block halvings with rewards per block, which is just like Bitcoin, just slightly tweaked. This is for the folks that may not be familiar with that. That's why I reiterate that. And the monetary policy of Litecoin is 84 million. Now, Dogecoin, you mentioned Dogecoin, they're unlimited, but they're still fixed in terms of the block reward, and there's some variances with the other currencies too.
Yeah, so Dogecoin, it's unlimited, but the percentage of how much is inflating over time decreases over time.
Correct.
It asymptotically approaches zero, but the total value is never limited. It's not like Litecoin at some point it will be actual 0% increase. In Dogecoin, we'll always have a little bit of increase over time. For other coins like, for example, BELLSCOIN, they have a 4-epoch system where depending on how many blocks there are, the rewards are different. I believe the last epoch is also continuous at 2 bells per block. So there's many different systems. Litecoin is the most restrictive in block rewards, which I think it's a very good thing for Litecoin, since it's currently being seen as a more usable coin compared to Bitcoin, with the same principles behind it of limitations. While it's currently quite undervalued, it's a very powerful piece for the blockchain ecosystem as a whole, since you can use it to exchange value in a lot simpler than in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And people are. We've talked about Bitcoin and Litecoin in terms of how many transactions are happening in a given day, who's using it at BitPay or BitRefill. Litecoin is leading all of those. So, and there's really no signs of that changing. And if the fees continue to rise on Bitcoin, Litecoin will be this, quote, perfect substitute. So I agree, and some others in the community. But solo mining versus pooled mining, you kind of already touched on that. I know in the original Litecoin client up until I want to say 2013, you'd run a node, which was also a wallet that was Litecoin Core.
and your node or your wallet was also your miner. At some point, the code was changed for Bitcoin. I want to say ASICS came out in 2013 with Canaan organization. I forget specifically what it's. Canaan something was the first miner, and then 2014 Bitmain came out, and they're still around, and they're a gigantic, So definitely we're not solo mining like we did in the old days. So it's super competitive now. And let's say we have machines at home. Um, you know, would there be a case for solo mining now versus pooled mining?
It depends on what your objective of mining is. For example, if you have an L3, which you know is not profitable with pooled mining, it's unlikely that you'll turn it on to start mining with a pool or like get rewards. Like essentially you're paying more on electricity and you get it back on rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So you're essentially buying Litecoin at a higher price than market price. So it doesn't really make sense in that situation. However, if you want to try and try your luck, you could always try and solo mine if you have 10 hours worth of electricity, which might be a few cents, and your expected reward is going to be less than a few cents, like your electricity price. But you could strike and be lucky and have an amazing block reward sitting in your wallet in the next few hours. It's I want to reiterate, this is it's the probability tells you won't make money, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So people do use this as kind of a lottery mining system. The same thing as the lottery, you never expect to make more money than what you're putting in, but you could be lucky and find a block reward for yourself. And that's 10,000 Dogecoin, 3.25 Litecoin, a few BELLSCOIN, a few Pepe, a few LOKOTECH, and all that up to a significant amount of money.
Yeah. So there still is a case for solo mining in 2024. I don't think a lot of people think about that anymore. And it seems to be a little bit more risky, but it depends on the person and their goals and what they want to do. So you were a miner before we get into Powerpool, were you mining at some point that led you into this realm or what?
So I was mining. So I've worked with hardware and I've worked with mining with rentals and as well as cloud mining when back when there was a case for it. Now it's not, cloud mining doesn't really make sense anymore, and rentals, everything, there's no arbitrage opportunity anymore because there's so many people in the ecosystem. But back in the day, it used to be profitable, and now everything that I have is no longer in my house. It's hosted, so it removes the hassle quite a bit, and it's just a lot simpler. So it's not that home mining is not very profitable anymore. It's just the home mining products that are out there currently, they're only meant for starting, not really as once you're already inside of crypto.
Okay. So what led you to create Powerpool, and how long has Powerpool been around?
Yeah. Originally, so I'm a mathematician. So the way I always think is optimizations. And back then, when I was mining in different pools, I remember looking at pro hashing and looking at what their revenue was, and I thought, this is definitely too little for what you could be making if you were directly going to the chain, if you were solo mining. But then if you're solo mining, you have the risk of finding a block. So I thought, well, what if there was a mining pool that is more true to the rewards as well as fully optimized to get that additional revenue for everyone? So if you're mining smartly and you're not only mining the main chain with a couple of the big merge mine coins, and you actually try and find all the possible coins with all the possible chains that you can mine and switch smartly between them, but then you get an additional revenue. It gives you an edge. So I thought, well, I might not be able to do this for my own farm, but I might be able to bring enough people and have this be a viable product. So that's when I thought of, well, let's make a pool out of it. Let's try it out, see if people like it. And it started as a small beta between a few people that I've met on Reddit. And then it kicked off. Everyone was interested. A lot of people called it a scam at first, which is understandable for the industry, and no one trusts until the late in the game. So it started there and it snowballed. Then there was a lot of contacts, a lot of people, a lot of farms trying to join in. There was an acquisition as well for a portion of it by LOKOTECH, which they liked the product and they liked the ideas behind it. So a lot of things happened very quickly, but it's still growing. It's still an amazing project, which I'm still the CEO and founder and main developer for it. So it was a pretty wild adventure, and it's still a wild adventure. So it's been up for 2 years. Never had any significant downtime, so a few seconds here and there when I try and tweak things. But it's been an amazing journey so far.
Very good. And I'm curious how Powerpool is different than, if you're going to Litecoin pool or whatever. We're talking about Litecoin mostly, but you support other algorithms. But I'm curious about what makes Powerpool different than the other big guys. And you claim right on the front of the website, you want to be the most profitable out there, and you're achieving that according to your stats board, or your leaderboard, I should say, profitability. I'm forgetting your tab names. They're all there. I think it's the profitability tab, because the leaderboard actually has your miners in real time, how much hashing they've contributed, and stats along those lines.
Well, but in that situation, we take the data directly from the blockchain, just because different pools will have different reward systems. So we take the APIs or the blockchain directly, instead of us doing it empirically. We do it directly through the theoretical, excluding their latency and everything. So the best case is that value that you're seeing there.
Okay. So that's what you're saying. But either way, it appears that and I'm curious, is this, you mentioned coin switching. Is that the right language?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to mine with Litecoin pool or Binance or whatever, are they mining all those other script chains, or are they just doing Litecoin, DOGECOIN, and Bells? Because it sounds like you're throwing the whole kitchen sink kind of in yours.
Yeah. So the approach for this is, if you know all the possibilities you can take, the routes you can take, then you can choose your best route. So, for example, Litecoin pool, I can tell you, like in that case specifically, because that was originally where I was mining at. So, and also as well as ProHashing, but Litecoin pool as well. So back then, let's say a year ago was more or less, they had the reward system was a fixed percentage over the FPPS. Since you had DOGECOIN, instead of being 100% FPPS, they had maybe 300% FPPS. So you would take the Litecoin rewards, multiply by 3 in this case, and that's what you would be paying out to users. But DOGECOIN blocks go like this. So the difficulty spikes a bit. They move around. It's not always the same. And the one thing that they would do is they would not change their percentage of ratio very often. So you would have days where they're paying at a 200% percentage. But since that DOGECOIN prices spiked, they were supposed to be paying at 300%. So they were pocketing the difference. But when there was the opposite effect, and you would have the DOGECOIN rewards be lower than what they were paying out, they would switch it immediately. So that would lead to miners being cheated out of a significant amount of rewards. So that was the biggest case that where you would see this big differences, just because of pools not paying out what they should be paying, or the full rewards of merge mining. So that's one of the possibilities, merge mining not being properly paid. Another possibility is that they're not paying they're not mining the right main coin. For example, BUBTC, you can choose to mine on Litecoin, or you can choose to mine DigiByte, I believe, in some cases. I don't know if BUBTC even supports it, but so if you're only mining Litecoin, when DigiByte profitability is higher than Litecoin, you're not benefiting from that difference. So you're still mining at your base coin. So if you're always at the highest maximum coin, you're always making more than when each of them individually, at least as much, or it could be higher. So that's another possibility. Another thing is that BUBTC has a similar feature for switching between coins for SHA-256, and that's only on their Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash situation, where you can smartly switch between them but you have to do it manually without having to disconnect your miners. So if it's not automatic, you're not going to make more money. So it's better to have something that's completely automatic, 100% effective, since it's always checking prices, checking difficulties, checking block rewards. So if you know all the paths you can take, you can always choose the most optimal one. And that's the approach for Powerpool. We track all coins in the SCRYPT algorithm, and all merge mine, all possible strategies that you can take for additionally gaining additional revenue, and you always choose whichever is the best one. And that's what gives you the additional revenue at the end of the day.
Okay, very good. What currencies do you support, or algorithms? I mean, obviously you support S-CRYPT, which is Litecoin, BELLSCOIN, DOGECOIN. You mentioned some others that are on SCRYPT. if let's say there's somebody here that's not interested in Litecoin, not very likely, but maybe somebody's interested in something else, what other currencies do you support?
Well, for mining, you also have Bitcoin. Then there's also Nervos or Eagle Song. There's also Caspa for K heavy hash. There's also Blake 2S, which is Cadena, and X11, which is Dash. So all those are also included. And thanks to the auto conversion in the platform, you can always just change between them. So if you're mining Litecoin, you can get paid in Bitcoin, or the other way around if you're more bullish on Litecoin. So it allows you to have that flexibility there as well. And for payouts, you have Bitcoin, Litecoin, DOGECOIN, Digibyte, Ethereum, Nervos, Cadena, Dash, Caspa, BELLSCOIN, and Bitcoin Cash. So you have like the whole everything primary that we're mining is there as a payout, as well as we'll have soon Litecoin, as well as some others. Solana is also going to be there as a possibility, even though we're not mining it, just to have Solana users an ability to join, as well as NFT projects that require Solana liquidity, so they can be mining and then receiving the Solana directly for their community. So we're very community driven. So if community wants it, community gets it. So it's more or less that's the spirit of it.
So the resuscitation of Litecoin is happening in the historic chain revitalization efforts.
Mm-hmm. And it's a coin that it's very profitable for miners. And if you're not mining it, you're missing out on a significant portion of money. Sometimes, some seconds you're making more on Litecoin than a Litecoin as your base coin. So there's a lot of effort that goes into finding what's most profitable for users, and that's what we have.
Okay, very good, very good. I know you added bells pretty quickly. I want to say in September or August maybe, but it was pretty quick that you added bells on after that. Kind of came out of nowhere, as I like to say. But we'll move on with Litecoin. I think, let's say somebody wants to start mining at home. And, I would argue that Litecoin is a very profitable coin to mine right now. Even if you're having residential electricity rates of, let's say, 13 cents, even when Litecoin was $60 a unit, and of course, I think it's around 118 today. It was profitable then. It's, of course, going to be profitable, at higher prices per Litecoin. And plus, it's merge mine. So you're benefiting from Doge and bells, and again, they could all go down. There are days that happens, but typically I think there's some power with these kind of variabilities, and all chains have been doing pretty well. So I think Litecoin is the most profitable if you do the math. However, let's say somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want to start mining. I don't care what it is. I could mine Bitcoin. I could mine, Litecoin or S-CRYPT. I can mine, Dash. What would you tell them is the most profitable right now?
Well, in my experience, it's always best to choose new hardware, regardless of the current cycle of the coin, except when they're incredibly overpriced. So, for example, there were some Caspa miners which are selling at 40K a piece. Those were heavily overpriced. Some people, they make their money back just because they received it super early. But it's unlikely that if you buy them when they're overpriced, that you're going to make your money back in many multiples over. But Litecoin, DOGECOIN, S-CRYPT mining in general, it's an established algorithm, which and it is a very long length of products that are always constantly producing. Latest gen is very good gen already. Currently on the market, the percentage of rewards that you get compared to the electricity percentage on your rewards electricity is low enough for you to justify home mining or even hosted mining without going to the enterprise super big scale operations that you have to do for Bitcoin. So S-CRYPT is really the sweet spot between brand new as well as significantly and profitable enough for the day-to-day users. And I really think S-CRYPT is the way to go when you're starting mining. If you buy S21, you're going to be running something very, very expensive first.
And that's for Bitcoin, correct?
Yeah, and expensive to maintain, yeah.
So what if
you run L9 or something for S-CRYPT, is a lot simpler to maintain.
Yeah, like what is it to maintain an S machine for Bitcoin now? I mean, what are they going for? And
Well, the cost for them it's significantly lower than S-CRYPT. So your upfront cost per watt of electricity is lower. So your capex decreases in that way, but your cost of operations is very high since your rewards per watt that you get when you're mining is a lot lower. For S-CRYPT is a lot higher. So it you have a higher upfront cost, but you have a much easier time maintaining it.
yeah, it's just Bitcoin, yeah, with the rewards, unless you're doing some secret sauce with Bitcoin, I don't know. But I mean, that's alone. Well, I guess Bitcoin Cash.
Well, no, you do have some
Yeah, but I
extra
mean,
things that you can do.
so what's merged with or on the SHA-256? I mean, Bitcoin Cash. Does Digibyte include that in its kind of multi-algo
Well,
approach?
you have a few things that you can do on Bitcoin. Well, lately you have it's called Bitcoin Fractal, which is a merge mineable coin with Bitcoin. You also have Namecoin, which is
Oh, Namecoin.
uh, one of the original ones.
Yeah.
You have other ones which are like there's Syscoin. There was a few more that they're not as significant enough for like in percentage wise. It's definitely not gonna move the needle too much, but it moves it slightly enough so that it can make the difference for when you have a big enough operation. As well as you can always mine Digibyte as a primary coin as well when you're mining Bitcoin. So you can also profit from that as well. So you can switch between the primary coin as well as what you're merge mining. And while the merge mining is not too big, the primary coin switches between Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, and Digibyte are significant enough to move the profits up.
Yeah, yeah. I think mining from home has maybe shifted out of view for many people, even in the Litecoin community. I think, like Bitcoin, we think it's like an impossibility to mine from home. But I don't think that's really true. And I wanted to talk to you about that. And I think, if anything, Powerpool can help you if you do want to start a mine, right? And you direct your miners towards Powerpool. But I mean, what does it look like to set up, for example, a script mine, even with one unit at home, in 2024? Are you profitable? I would think, again, you would be. And I think that could be encouraging for people to kind of maybe reconsider mining again when they wouldn't, for example, want to really set up a Bitcoin mine at home. They can do that with Litecoin and S-CRYPT.
Yeah. Well, once you have your unit at home, that's the biggest first step. It's important when you buy a unit, you do it from reputable vendors and not some guy off Telegram, just because you want to make sure it arrives since you paid for it.
Yes.
Always pay with credit card if you can. That helps you out also a lot if you're buying something that is direct from a scammy reseller, just so you can credit back in case you don't get it and all that, you can dispute it. But once it's in your possession, you essentially plug it in, connect it to the internet with the Ethernet cable. Then you log into the interface, which is super simple. And then you just set up the mining address, your username and your URL where you're mining to Powerpool in this case. And then you start stacking your rewards. Automatically, the Powerpool converts to Bitcoin, so you can receive Bitcoin, but you can switch it to Litecoin. And then just stack those Litecoin and get them paid out to your wallet. It can be either the exchange directly, which I don't really recommend, just because not your keys, not your coins. So it's better to have a hardware wallet or Litecoin Core client in your system, so you can receive your rewards there. And then you can sell them, you can use them, you can do whatever you want after with those.
Yeah, that's good. If anything, pointing your miners to the pool would be the easiest part. Maybe this is a part where we can pause for the U.S. audience and probably Canada too. I don't know about the European model or anywhere else really, but getting your unit, first of all, that's terrifying that you can order a unit and not get it because these things aren't cheap. But I've heard stories that has happened. So definitely vet where you're buying from. But let's see, what would it take? And if I could give a little do-it-yourself model, what would you need in the U.S.? You would need basically I would say 30 amp to be safe breaker, okay? A line that goes to an L630 receptacle, That receptacle would take a PDU. The PDU, the miner would be plugged into the PDU, let's say one L7 or one L9. I wouldn't put a bunch of them on one unit. I think you could do two L7s on a PDU, but let's say one L9 to a PDU. And then, of course, you have your L9. Okay. But what else do you need to consider? You need to consider, well, what temperature environment is this thing running in? These things get hot. Am I going to capture or release the exhaust heat? If you're in Texas, it's a very hot state. That's where we are. You definitely don't want to add more of that to your house if that's where you're starting. So how am I ventilating this thing? And let's say it gets cold out. Can I capture this thing to heat my home? There are ways to do this. These things need to be considered. Or maybe you're in a colder environment where it's not quite as extreme. Another thing is you're going to get major drafts if you have it in a closed room. I mean, it's going to suck air in that room like crazy. You're going to feel it. So you have to there's a lot of environmental factors in your space that you need to consider first before even paying for one of these machines. Mm-hmm. They're not insurmountable, but they need to be considered because you don't want to just get a machine and be like, oh, I'm going to plug it in. And then like, oh, by the way, these are so loud. They're extremely hot. You're like, so just think about some of those things before you step into mining. But that's really the only barrier, setting up your environment, whether it's inside your home or not. And getting the units that are going to work for you, and that's based on your price points and things. L7s should be profitable at home. L9s definitely are profitable at home for S-CRYPT. What sort of machines do you like? What are the computers that you're liking that are out? And maybe you can talk about some that might be out in the future.
Well, historically, L7s have been very, very good just because when they're not super reliable, they've been out the market for a long time. So there's many different iterations of it. They're mostly the most affordable ones that you can get out of resellers, just because they're switching to the new generation, like the L9s or the Alpha PECs. So they also have a few of them. So the L7s are a great starter if you're mining more professionally. If you just want to try out just mining, you could always get the mini Doge miners from with this Gold Shell, if I'm not mistaken, and those are more home miners, so they are less noisy and less power hungry. So you can run them off of your outlets in your house, and most of them contain Wi-Fi, so you don't even need an Ethernet line that goes straight to them. So they're easier to start with, and then from the future, well, L9s are starting to arrive, so those are nice as well, and also LOKOTECH, which is it's part of Powerpool now, but they also released their single tube and double tube form factors, which are L9 direct competitors in terms of hash rate, but you're consuming half the power, so you can run multiple in one breaker. So it allows you to pack them more densely with the same power consumption and get more hash rate. And yeah, those are I want to say, and also Alpha PECs. They're the main contenders for S-CRYPT. That are viable for good profitability, just because if you're mining at a higher price point than you're selling it at, you're losing money. So you want your operating cost to be lower than your rewards. It's trivial, but it's important. That's fun to remark it.
Yeah.
And so it's more or less that's the situation. Currently the single tube and double tubes are only in pre-order, so there's a slight gap of time until you receive them. So that's also a factor, because it's important to receive them so you can start using them. But essentially, those are the main competitors in the space currently.
And the single and double stack, which I saw the other day, Ben, who was on the show last year, actually this month, it was about a year ago, he was on the show. They're basically fitted with hash blades within them, correct?
More or less, yes. They're slightly bigger. The hash blades are inside. They wouldn't fit on a GPU miner.
Okay.
But they are the same chip, the same architecture, same firmware, and everything. It's just it's more tightly packed together so that it fits the L7 format, so like same footprint in terms of size, to be able to pack more power into it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be excited to see those when they're out for sure. If you can cut the demand for the electricity you have, that's amazing, especially if you're residential, right? So that's exciting. I know the double barrel, I want to say, is slightly at least it's projected to be, or the estimate is actually slightly stronger than the L9, which I think is 16.2.
Yeah, I believe. I'm just gonna make a double check, and I know the value's right. The double tube is doing 18.6 gigahash. Yeah, 18.6 gigahash at 1,750 watts. So essentially, it's about 12 amps, 13 amps at a US power per machine. So you can have these be part of the of one line where you have them in a shelf.
Yep.
You can have multiple of those within one breaker. So it helps your OpEx, your CapEx to be lower.
Absolutely.
And make it simpler in your farm design. And then the single barrel, it's essentially the same machine, just half of it, plus a little bit of extra power that is the same controller, so it's a little bit of extra power since you don't have half the controller. So, but it's also very, very competitive. It's more or less an L7 equivalent. So you have 9.3 gigahash, but at a much lower power cost of only 900 watts.
Do we have any time frame on when these will be available on the market, delivered?
They will be delivered on Q3 of this year. Well, not this year, 2025.
Okay.
And originally it was supposed to be delivered much earlier, but we had issues with LOKOTECH had issues with a lot of the there was an engineering tragedy with one of the engineers that was behind it. So he was, let's say, the bottleneck of the design. So that we had to put a pause on it so that everything could be sorted, and then he could go back in. And so that costed weeks, especially now. It was Christmas is in there, Thanksgiving, everything. So it was essentially weeks, but ended up being a few months in natural time. So all that had to be sorted. But now that all roadblocks are gone and the production starting, it's just great all around.
Very good, very good. Anything else we want to look at that we haven't looked at in terms of Powerpool? We talked about kind of how to point the miners, your switching algorithms, the algorithms you support in terms of coins you want to mine. I want to reiterate, you can get paid out in multiple currencies even if you're not mining them. So like if I'm mining Litecoin and I want to only get paid in bells or whatever, you can do that. I don't know why you would, but you can. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of payouts, and maybe we want to talk about that. Powerpool versus other pools and the pay per share. Are you faster in terms of payouts? I know there's some variability. You can set how often you want to get paid out and, designate the addresses you want them to go to. And it seems to be a little bit more responsive than other platforms.
Well, if you have different pools with different reward systems, for example, most of the pools pay you out once a day. It makes it simpler for their accounting purposes and for them to use your coins while the time's going, so they can accrue the interest or play around a little bit with it. Powerpool is a lot simpler. It's 1 hour payout, so every 1 hour you can get paid out, as long as you meet the threshold. The threshold depends on the coin. I think the Litecoin's a few cents, so you get reliable, constant payouts to your wallets if you want. For Bitcoin, it's a bit higher just because of transaction fees that have to be taken into account. Powerpool pays all of them, and a lot of people have asked, well, if I get paid out more frequently, I miss out on rewards, right? Because of transaction fees. I'm like, no, we cover those. Like the threshold that we set are already taking into consideration our margins, so that to make sure that we're not losing money and just sending your transaction. But it's so that everything it's accounted into the 1% fee of the pool. And but the biggest feature really, well, it's user friendly, so that's always good for people to start. But the good thing is that really keeps people there is the profitability. You can pull up the stats on powerpool.io/profitability, and you can see currently, well, this is live as we're talking, Nash Highs in the past 24 hours paid 9.5 less than us, and that's straight from their API, taking into consideration their fee versus our fee. So 9.5% is a lot of money that people are leaving on the table, and they have many terahashes connected there. You can check with Mining Dutch is 5.1%, BUBTC 6.1%, Litecoin Pool 1.3 as the closest one today, and then there's Pro Hashing at 15.9% less than us. So those are the biggest ones that make difference. But it's essentially more profitability, better user friendliness, more flexibility for payments, quicker stuff, and support that is there to answer questions live. You don't have to send emails and stuff. On Discord, a few people talk there to like answer other people's questions. Not even me that has to answer them sometimes. Other users chime in and help out each other out. So it's a great community all around.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually really good. Support's huge, especially if you're new to the space. So, awesome. What is your percentage fee versus other pools?
1%. Other pools, they vary a lot. No one's lower than 1%. And Litecoin pools at 2. All the others are 4. Pro is like a 3. Nash is a 3 also. So it's not 2%. Sorry, nice. So it varies a lot depending on who you're mining with. But it's 1%. Ours is 1% only. And if you're a big farm, you also get discounts or some additional features you can have. So it's also if they use your link, they also get a discount on the free for life as well. That's also great there. And so if they register with your link, and it's just a feature. The fee is minimal. It's we always try and keep it as low as possible. It's to keep servers up and transactions, as well as giving us a revenue as well. But we're not trying to be greedy or trying to scam out people. So it's we keep it low, still at FVPS, which is unseen for the space.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, 1% is standard, which is already lower than your competitors. And yes, if you do use the 84 million link in the show notes, which we opened this episode with, and we'll repeat that again, you will have a reduced sub 1% pool fee, which is amazing. So anything you wanted to end with the pool, or maybe just a general comment on where you see Litecoin going before we kind of end the show?
I really want to see Litecoin overtaking Dogecoin profitability once more. Not because Dogecoin going down, but of Litecoin going up. And I really hope that's the case in the near future, just because of the whole community that's behind it, and hopefully good stuff happening in the future. But yeah, that's on script mining and the pool. I think that's all I got to say.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Friends, check out Powerpool, powerpool.io. Of course, on X, it's Powerpool Mining. Ruben, it's been a pleasure. I'm hoping this was helpful to some folks, and I'm hoping we're going to get some pings for your services, and that more people will choose to mine in 2024, because you still can mine and still can profit from home. So do all the math, folks. We can't tell you exactly what to do, and we're not telling you to do anything. We're just kind of showcasing one of the options you have for a pool. And again, you got to do all the math and the calculations on your side, but do consider mining. You're contributing to the Litecoin network. You're literally the person prospecting out there, getting the mine or the metal out of the ground, if you will. So it's a pretty cool experience, and will probably change your life. So we need more Litecoin miners, right? So anyway, we'll end with that, Ruben. Thanks for coming, and hope to see you again. Yep. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.